Why do you think it's important to get involved in local politics?
All politics is local. Absolutely, hands down, all politics is local.
Now that is a common expression. We've all heard that before. We know Tip O'Neill's book, but what does it mean?
I guess the way I would explain it is one of the things that happens and has happened in Delaware County in the past is have carried statewide and federal elections. We carried Obama, we've carried some statewide offices in Delaware County, and then lost state house races, state senate races, and local. You've now split your ability to do anything.
Sure. When you say statewide, let's be specific about what we're talking about. We're talking about a governor's mansion. We're talking about putting offices in the state, in Harrisburg. Mm-hmm. But as you contrasted, our state representatives that might represent us in Harrisburg for Delaware County local districts, those we lose, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so for an example, in this election, we elected Tom Wolf, whom I happen to think very highly of, but then turned around and gave him a Republican legislature. Now, I don't have any objection to Republicans. I have some very dear friends that are in that legislature that are Republican, but the message is now mixed. Oh, sorry. The message is now mixed.
Okay, I didn't mean for you to say yes, sorry. So for example, sure, when you say statewide, let's be specific about what we're talking about. We're talking about a governor's mansion. We're talking about putting offices in the state, in Harrisburg, but as you contrasted, our state representatives that might represent us in Harrisburg for Delaware County local districts, those we lose, correct? Those, correct.
Right. Okay. Right. And now you've diluted your message. I mean, if you want Tom Wolf to go in and, which I believed was the message that was received, to go in and work on, for example, the shale tax issue, the removal tax issue, and then you send a house full of Republicans who have no interest in doing that, you've diluted your message. And that affects you directly, because where do you think your local county and borough or township get money from?
So to be clear, what we're talking about here, when you say dilute the message, we have separation of powers, an executive branch and a legislative branch. We may do great with the executive branch, but if we have a state house that won't vote into law what we actually want in Harrisburg, nothing gets done.
Right. If we tell Tom Wolf, yes, we accept your message and we're going to make you governor, but then turn around and at the same time accept the message of Republicans who are, and I don't mean just Republicans because there are some Democrats in the state, but the opposite message of, no, we're not going to do the shale tax or more money into education, what have you done?
And again, to further clarify.
Right, I mean, so you've caused gridlock, in my opinion. People don't like gridlock, but you have to realize when you vote, sometimes it's the voter that made the gridlock happen. If you put two, and I'm not saying that every governor or president should get both houses that support him. I'm not saying that at all, because it doesn't always work. You do need balance. But if you send the governor's office and maybe make the House even and the Senate even, they then really have a shot at working it out. They're forced to compromise. Greatest compromise in this country was the Constitution, and we've gotten away from that. You have to consider what you're voting for because you want them to compromise.
The local message is the state rep and our township commissioners whose elected power can support the state representative. Why do you think it's important to vote in local elections?
Local candidates tell state candidates what they want for their community. So if you aren't represented by everyone, if it's not a diverse council, then you're not going to get diverse message to Harrisburg. You're not going to get through what you really want. In other words, if you're a labor voter and you vote against labor in the House, but for labor in the governor's office, what have you just done? You've canceled out your message. So, and that goes, and it's the same thing locally. If you vote, if you vote against your own interests as a union person in a local election and the state election, you've canceled out your message. So it's important, and diversity is the message. I mean, everyone needs to be represented. So if you really believe, like I do, that the best way to get the best compromise is to have all the opinions represented at the table, then you need to vote that way.
Is it important for people to come and vote for their school board candidates?
Absolutely. Although, as an ex-school board member, I don't think that we get the money that we rightly deserve based on each economic issue or economic area of Pennsylvania.
And how important education is.
Absolutely. It's the single most important thing for your child if they want to grow up to be a functioning member of society. And I don't think we have as much control as people think we do, but we're the only voice you have that gets you to Harrisburg.
Just your local school
The
board
local
member.
school board members. Yeah, I mean, we're the ones who your state rep is going to come to us, your state senator is going to come to us, the Board of Education is going to come to us. They're going to talk to us. So you want to make sure that the people that are sitting on that council or on that board are talking what you want them to talk about. So it's very important to vote for them.
Sure. And you're saying us because you were a school board member for a really long time, and so
Yeah.
you're saying us, meaning you as a former school board member.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 12 years. 12 years. It was hard.
And
Hardest job I ever took.
you also were a member of state committee.
Yes.
And if I can digress on these other issues, and could you educate our viewers as to what state committee is?
State committee is the body that sets the state platform for all of our local elections. It supports for all of our elections in Pennsylvania, other than national ones. The national party sets its own platform, but each state has its own platform, and we set that as members of state committee. We also
Set a platform.
yes.
Now, what does that mean?
In other words, what issues are we going to be standing for in any given year, or any given election cycle? I'll say we come up with a platform, and the platform has different sections. Education. What are our principles and our standings on education, on crime, on diversity, on discrimination, on all kinds of issues. There are different planks, and how the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, for that matter, of Delaware County or of the state of Pennsylvania are going to run is based on that platform.
How about candidates?
I'm sorry, yes, we are also responsible for endorsing state candidates and judges when they're up, which I also think is another area that's important that we don't talk about, that people don't know about, that people don't come out and vote for. And they have a big effect on your life. But yes, it's our responsibility to make an endorsement. And an endorsement means that there's like 235 maybe, 200, almost 300 members of state committee, something like that. And it's their job to evaluate candidates and then vote on them for an endorsement. Now, an endorsement just means that that's who the party suggests we vote for.
When voters come to a polling place and they see state recommended candidate for governor's race or any of these statewide judges, and they see Democratic Party endorsed candidate, does state committee have anything to do with that?
Yes. The state committee does a recommendation or an endorsement for, as we're talking about. They make that endorsement to the counties. They go up to Harrisburg. They have this big meeting where they then endorse. And they send that recommendation out to the counties. The counties then take that recommendation along with their whatever local races they have, and they present it to their committee people. It's up to the committee people, the local committee people, to vote to endorse that or to not endorse it. And if they endorse it, that's the ballot you see. If they don't endorse it, then you see a different ballot.
Okay. Now, you as a former state committee, the process that happened, did you vote for that endorsement? How did that occur, the process?
I actually was lucky enough to vote for the state endorsement, which you go to. It's a huge meeting. It's everyone shows up, and it takes a long time. It can take hours, but we do vote by paper ballot. At least they did when I was there, and for however many times it takes to get it down to the one candidate that we want to have, unless they decide to go for an open primary. So yes, we do vote for it as state committee member. I, on the other hand, was also lucky enough to be a member of the local committee. So when it came back, I got to I got even more say, and to a group of people that was smaller that actually was more willing to listen to me. So if I disagreed with state committee, I had an opportunity to have influence in my local county.
A second chance.
Yes.
And Diane, we both are committee people, so what we do is each year we attend a meeting where those state recommendations are presented to us, and those recommendations are presented, and we all take a vote together, and that is either passed or not passed, correct?
Well, usually it's either passed or we vote for an open primary.
Which means that there's no recommendation.
Right, which leaves it up to the voter to decide.
Or each individual township committee. For instance, Ridley can make a recommendation.
Exactly.
Nether Providence can make a recommendation.
And I've seen it go down all the way down to where local committees will say, we're not going to endorse, and
each committee person
will
can
come
make his
to me,
own.
Right, will come to me and say, we both agree, can we get, and sure, now the county's not going to print all those ballots, but you can do it. I have no objection. Get a palm card. I've seen that happen. So yeah, you get right. The committee person has a big role to play in all of this.
Because of why?
Because it's their vote. They are the ones that vote. It's not. It's not. You could be the chairman of the party, and not be a committee person, and not vote. It's that committee person that has the vote, and you have the opportunity as a member of let's use Ridley Township, the Ridley Township Democratic Committee, to make your argument to 20 people, I think it is, we have on our committee, if we had a full committee, which we're pretty close. But you have the opportunity to sit down with those 20 people and change their mind if you want, to influence that endorsement.
Certainly. And the committee person has a second job. Each election, the committee person stands at the polls and hands out to each voter who hopefully they formed a relationship and said, look, I have researched this candidate. This candidate is more for us, the voter, we the voters, than the other opposition who is running against our candidate. He is for you. It is my recommendation that you vote for him, which is a powerful political tool in making policy.
That's the idea. That takes us back to all politics are local. If your committee person takes advantage of the job, and that is to form relationships with voters and get to know people at the polling place, then they're going to listen to him or her. So they can influence who people vote. They can make recommendations that people are going to listen to. So that's why it's, I think, it's hands down one of the most important jobs. It is the local committee that does all the grassroots work.
And so just to finish up here, Diane, we just commented earlier in this interview that there were more Democratic votes in the primary than there were Republican votes, which has never happened before, correct?
No, I, as I told you, I was 16 when I started. I'm 58 now. That's 42 years.
In addition, the registration in Delaware County happens to be a majority Democratic registration. Isn't that true? Yes,
and we're hoping that this is the election that it's not just the registration, it's actually the voters become the majority.
So now let's educate our viewers, especially the Ridley Township viewers. How many committee people do you have? You said 12 or 20?
There are positions for 20. We have, I think, 12. I think that was the last count, and I should have looked at that before I came. It is an interesting job. The pay is zero, but it's the satisfaction that works that brings to you to make a change.
At what percent capacity is Ridley Township right now in terms of committee members?
We're about just over 50%. So
You are looking to fill twice as many committee slots
yeah,
that can make policy in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
yes.
Whose vote, in terms of endorsements, that really has a magnified role in electing powerful public officials. Isn't that right?
Right. The committee person, and this is a message I want to send out to the progressives who find issue with the party, and even to my Republican friends who find issue with their party. The committee person is the one that gets to send the messages, that gets to set party policy. You can't change the way the Democratic Party does things unless you're inside the bubble.
Or the Republican Party, as you just
Absolutely,
mentioned.
yes. You have to be inside where you can vote to make those changes. Screaming from outside, I mean,
At
Bernie
least
Sanders, for example.
you can make a sound, but you actually can't.
I will tell you exactly. When Bernie Sanders people went ballistic over the whole primary season, as a Democrat and an active member of the party, my first reaction was, what do I owe him? He's not a Democrat.
He's an independent.
And he still is. So why do I owe, as a hardworking grassroots Democrat, busted my hump for 42 years, out here on the streets, what do I owe Bernie Sanders? He's never done anything for a Democrat. And
Well,
you can
he
wait.
has, by his policies, different issue. Different
Yes.
issue. Let's talk about
Yes.
your point. I just wanted to say that for
but-
Bernie. But listen,
Right.
let's make your point about participation, please.
Right. So if you want things like that to change, you have to come in the door.
Right, I agree.
I can't. I don't have people sitting in my committee that are saying, Bernie, look what they did. We want to change it. I don't. They just don't. I mean, and you have to come in. You have to come in out of the cold to get warm and make change. That's just the only way it works. You can try forming a third party. We've seen how that works. Doesn't help anybody. I mean, and I get that there are a ton of independents out there. And
Diane, let's have this discussion. We can form a third party. That's the long game. A faster game is that
change was already there.
change that's or to make change faster, to join now in one of the parties. A committee person has an extremely powerful voice, magnified exponentially within the party to make primary recommendations and policy recommendations, voting within committee meetings,
Right.
because you control the ballot and you control voters
And
at
you control the
polls.
platform. The big thing is you control the platform. Look, I don't agree with a lot of things that some Democrats do. I have my issues with the quote elite end quote Democrats who I have had tell me, if you can't raise me $50,000, I don't want to talk to you.
And I will join in that. We both have issues with our own party. We both want to see good government, and that's a message we have
Exactly.
to our Republican brothers and sisters.
Right.
We hope they also want to see good
Right.
government, and it's about everyone working together. We don't want to see monopolies. We don't want to
Right.
see majority voices who don't hear minority voices. And we could talk about Philadelphia, where a Democratic government doesn't necessarily hear minority voice. That's a different topic for a different time.
Actually, they actually do give the Republican seats.
They do.
So I
They
mean,
do.
so
Different topic for a
do I
different
think-
time.
Right. If I was a Republican in Philadelphia, would I think that's great? Probably not. But they give them more than what we get in Delaware County.
Correct.
Absolutely, hands down.
Correct.
And I think the most important thing that I say to people when I'm trying to recruit people is, look, I don't agree with it's $50,000 or don't waste my time, because I'm the idiot out on the street that's walking around busted my hump, and you don't want to hear what I have to say. I'm the one that's got to carry forth your plans. I don't care how much it costs. I'm still the one that's on the ground doing the work. So if you want to change the way it's done, come in and help me. I want to change it. There are things that I think need to be changed about the way political parties operate. Be you Democrat or be you Republican, I don't care which one. But you can't change something from the outside. You can change it from the inside.
Now is as good a time as ever, because we have a day-to-day battle for our independence. We don't necessarily have to pick up a musket and fight against the British, but we do have to fight against our liberties that are being taken from us
Absolutely.
by a administration that seeks to take it away
Right,
from
we have
us
the momentum.
every
Now's
day.
the time to do it. I mean, it is. That's the way it is. It's the momentum. 2018 elections are coming up. 2017 elections are here. Now's the time. We have the momentum. Let's do something about it.